Welcome back to FM21 Redemption. It's the name of the series, it's the quest that we're on, and this has got to go some way to showing that we're on the right track, hasn't it? Sean Dyche is out as England manager. Who's the logical choice to take over? Yep, someone that spent 13 years plugging away in Norway's lower divisions and 1 season in France's second tier. We turned the job down not just because of realism reasons, but because we've got a job on ourselves with Toulouse. We've been promoted back to the top flight. We're going to make our top division bow as a French Ligue manager today. We've been handed a tough fixture, but we've done a little bit of business in the summer that hopefully will make us a strong enough squad to survive. So looking at the pre-season odds, survival does look a challenge. We're predicted to finish 3rd bottom in the Ligue 1 table. We kick off our campaign today against Rennes, predicted to finish 6th. I'd like to do a little bit better than just to scrap against relegation. If I'm honest, I'd love to make our first season back in Ligue 1 one that is more about mid-table security, maybe even surprising a few, breaking into the top half of the table. I know challenging those 5 or 6 biggest teams is a non-starter, but I think we might have a squad that's strong enough to do better than the media is predicting. Let's show you how the squad is looking. Okay, so let's actually start down in the under-19s, because you'll remember that youth report from our head of youth development about a so-called golden generation. Let me warn you, nothing could have been further from the truth. All in our time at Tromsdalen, every youth intake, even the ones I thought were not that strong when we first got them through, had a player or two that we were able to fast-track into our first team. This time, by the way, we have been given a complete bunch of duffers. I've heard so many people bemoaning the so-called golden generations that they've received. Never quite was sure how their youth intakes could have been so bad, because in Tromsdalen, well, we were blessed. This is absolute dross. Have a look at the best of these players. This is Jeremy Hamm. I think you'll agree he's not too bad. He's branded as a promising striker. He's got really good dribbling. His physicals could improve. He did not come through the youth intake, by the way. I've signed Jeremy Hamm just so that we've got something in the under-19s that we can try and develop everything else that came through. Absolute dross. Look at Loic Moreau, an unambitious player. He's got some reasonable physicals. Technically and mentally, he's a barren wasteland of a player. Look at the Englishman we had through. Young Stacey Radcliffe, unambitious again. Technically an absolute disaster. In total, we took on maybe 5 or 6 of these players, but they were absolute dross. Nobody's going to get anywhere near the first team, and you've got to remember, we need the players coming through the youth academy to be even better than the ones in Norway, because we're playing a better standard of league. They've got to go into a stronger first team squad. There is nothing, nada, zit, zilch, that is going to make it anywhere near the first team out of this entire squad. Fortunately, the first team we've strengthened a little bit, and I think we've managed to pick up a couple of players in the transfer market that might help strengthen us. So this is going to be the squad for today's game. On the face of it, it's looking very, very similar. You'll see we've brought back Bruno Nicola on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. This is a really good goalkeeper, one that's improving too. He's still only 22 years old. Great to have him on board for a second season. In defence, we're going to have Mensah, one of our young prospects that we are developing. We're also going to have Gureen, who we've brought back in for another season on loan. He's going to be our more dominant centre-half. And then we're also going to have a player that we sign. This is Francis Nicola, 6'5". Granted, he's got work to do to become a top Ligue 1 defender, but he's got a reasonable personality, although not standout. Only 19 years old. I think physically and mentally he can become everything we need him to be. It's just whether we can improve some of those stats like his tackling and his marking to make him a Ligue 1 player. We've also got Giaria back, but not on loan this time. We've been out and we splashed a bit of cash, quite a lot of it. 7.5 million, bringing him in permanently rather than on loan because other clubs were making bids to try and take him to their team. On loan, we have bought back Kyrgyzstan, who didn't impress me when we first signed him on loan, but he got better as the season evolved. And I think if you look at his attributes, he looks pretty good as a right wing back. And now he's comfortable playing that position. Hopefully he'll do well. We're going to have Baye, who is settled at the club. Ideally, you might want someone a bit braver in your central midfield, but we found it very, very difficult to find good players that we could afford to bring in. Our scouts did unearth some gems. Some of them were only worth less than £1 million, but when you made transfer offers to try and negotiate a deal for them, their clubs wanted in excess of £50 million, and we are not shopping in that particular store right now, so pretty much as you were in central midfield. Salim Chan is going to be there for us. We're going to be playing back. We're going to be bringing Carvot back in on loan. And then we've got the big man Al Belushi up front. So on the face of it, apart from Nicola in defence, we've not done an awful lot of business, but we've got a new striker in. This guy, Erdem, comes in on loan. He's from Marseille. He's reasonably quick, but it's over on these technicals that things get a little bit more exciting. The first touch, the finishing, the dribbling, all look really good. The composure's pretty good. The off the ball's pretty good. And as an alternative option to Al Belushi, I think we've picked up another good loan signing there. We've also got another forward player who can play on the right wing or centrally. And this is Sofiana Beneader. Again, doesn't really have too many weaknesses to his game. He's also a good finisher, even more composed. Maybe lacking the pace to be explosive up there, but he wants to be a deep lying forward. And I think as a dropping off kind of striker, when Al Belushi's either injured or struggling for fitness or maybe even struggling for form, with this kind of off the ball movement, this kind of technique, teamwork, I think that Beneader can come into the team and be useful for us. Looked very good during pre-season. The other big signing that we've made, by the way, familiar name in Morten Sturvold. We went back and had a look if there were any other talents that we could bring in from Trompsdalen. We were umming and ahhing between Sturvold and Fjellingsdal. We couldn't afford them both. In the end, we went Sturvold. Now, he doesn't look great right now because those training hours are going in the wrong direction, but look at his mentals for a central midfielder. He's going to be making good decisions for us. He's got some flair, which coupled with that vision might just help unlock even the tightest of defence. He's going to work really hard for us in that midfield as well. Off the ball movement means that maybe as a box-to-box midfielder, he might be making some pretty good runs for us. Coupled with trying to play the old killer balls and moving into the channels, he might be quite a dynamic option for us. I don't see him as a deep line playmaker. I see him filling in for Chan and rotating into the team because Chan struggled for fitness a lot last campaign. Now I think in Sturvold we've got a player who could replace him, and that's pretty much the extent of our business, apart from bringing in young Jeremy, who's too young to be registered for the league. That's the business that we did. As I said, we were quoted some outrageous prices to bring in some very good talent. So we've gone for younger players instead that hopefully with some exposure to first team football, we can try and develop. But now, I think the time has come. We are playing Rennes. They are going to be tricky little opponents, but it's going to be our Ligue 1 debut. Let's go out there and see how the game goes. Okay, this is going to be a massive step up. We're prepared for that. We know the likes of PSG, Marseille, Lyon, Monaco are going to be a class above us. It's all about whether we can pick up points against the teams that are more predicted to finish around mid-table and below that will determine how good a season we have. Rennes are probably the team that are just outside that top four. They've got some very, very good youth academy products that they've produced of their own. So this is going to be a tricky game. We've got two injuries early on. And this is far from ideal. We can bring Grachev in for Giria. Hopefully that's not too bad an injury, but we've got cover there. In for Marabia is a more difficult replacement to make, because we are a little light when it comes to more defensively minded midfielders. We tried, we hunted, we looked everywhere for one that we could bring in during the summer. There was nobody really in a sensible price bracket that we could have bought in. So let's go with young Dave Labate. I say young, I think he's got his 30th birthday this year. The guy who came through at Dover, but he's actually listed as Italian. We're going to bring him on, and we're into the highlights as well. 22 minutes, there is Labate. Here's the new boy Nicholas. He sent it forward to the big man. Albelushi sent it out wide. Here's the overlapping wing back. Carvot has used that as an opportunity to drift over right in the centre of the goal on the 6-yard box. We've got ourselves a little 1-0 lead against Rennes. This is a good team. I'm going to repeat it. Rennes are going to be right up there. They finished, I think, 7th last season. Carvot has tucked that away nicely. He's on loan from PSG as well. He's in the Polish under-21 squad now, even though I think he was born in Paris. And racing towards, over the half-hour mark now. We've played all right so far. We've got the ball again. We've given it away. We're going to have to do a little bit of defending now, which we do all right. Here's Nicola, the new defender. He's raw, admittedly. He only cost us about £1 million, though. It's not like we spent big on him. And he's got some more experienced heads that could come in for him, like we still got Bratton. At 24, by the way, he's one of our experienced heads. And we've got Grachev. He sent Albelushi through. And I tell you what, he was rampant in the division below. Question marks about whether he could make the step up to this higher division. That's a decent finish, isn't it? Mensah out to Grachev. Grachev's only been on the pitch, maybe 15 minutes or so, and he's got an assist. He's got a lot to prove, Grachev, by the way. He has been skulking and sulking ever since we did not improve that defence during the transfer window when he joined the club. He was on the transfer list 28 days after arriving at the club. I think we've ridden out the storm. He's pretty happy to be with us now, even though he doesn't quite understand why the dressing room supports the manager so much. Thanks for that. Brought you through as a 15-year-old. Hand-reared you, essentially, at Trompsdalen. You've got absolutely no faith in me whatsoever. But as our backup left-back, I think he's not a bad option to have around. And he's got himself an assist already, and we're in again, you know. And Carvot is getting on the end of a cross from Labate. And although those match stats are pretty even, we're taking a 2-0 lead into half-time. I think you can call that a better first half than I was anticipating. Only got one sub up our sleeve, though. Let's go and see who's tired. We'll see you back out there for the second half of our first game of the season. Okay, we are back underway. 2-0 up. Got a couple of squiffy performances out there, though. Lansana Bart over on the left wing is on a 6.4. Salim Chan is on a 6.4 in central midfield now as well. And I reckon we're going to leave it until 70 minutes before we make our last change, because those two early injuries mean we've not got much left up our sleeve after I make this substitution. If we get another injury, we're down to 10 men. I think now, we've got a choice to make. Lansana Bar is on a 6.1. Chan's on a 6.3. Neither of those performances are great. Let's bring on the loan signing, Erdem, who cannot play out on the left, really. I think he's got... no, he's a striker and nothing else. In fact, I think we've made a bad call there. Let's undo it. And let's go for Sofiana Beneader. He's at least got some experience of playing out there. So let's go with him. And Sanabar has had a miserable afternoon. I'm not sure why his performance is quite so low. We could keep a clean sheet on the opening day of the season. That would be encouraging, because the one thing I am a little bit worried about is the strength of our central defenders. Again, wasn't able to strengthen there anywhere near as well as I would have liked. I've signed young Nicola to play back there, primarily because he's so good aerially. He's 6'5", and I do like in a back three being pretty dominant in the air. Means they can be a threat in both boxes. But Carvot's racing through right at the end, and I tell you what, he's gone and he's gone. And he's gone some more. He's tucked one past a keeper who didn't really seem to make a motion towards the ball. And goodness me, we are beating Rennes 3-0. Away from home, by the way, just clocking that. On the opening day of the season, their goalie did not look particularly aware of what was going on there, and I think we've had a pretty good first half. In terms of the scoreline, looks like a better second half in terms of the stats, because Rennes barely registered an effort in the second half. We've increased our XG and our shots on target. Virtually everybody's getting a decent rating apart from Ba, who finished on a 6.0. Chan improved to a 6.7. Tell you what, we're going to tell the boys that that's actually a pretty good effort, and our Ligue 1 campaign is underway, and well, we're sat in third place in the table. You know, we're down on goal difference to PSG and Marseille, but we're hot on their heels. How long will that last? One more game, I would imagine. But we cannot be too disappointed with that for a start for the season. We're now going to go offline and play a few more fixtures. By the time we come back, well, we'll see how the first quarter of this league season has gone. We're looking forward to that, because early signs are FM21 Redemption might not be a million miles away.